Last year, I accompanied Jason of Primal Outdoors on an overland adventure traveling a route he developed. Starting from the city of Bend, we traversed Oregon's high desert via dirt roads across public lands, checking out points of interest along the way and ending our week-long expedition at the iconic Alvord Desert. It's a year later. The rigs look a little different, but unchanged is our desire to further explore the empty expanses of eastern Oregon. So we are picking up where we left off on a mission to extend the route beyond the Alvord with a new week-long segment that gravitates around the stark and spectacular Owyhee Canyon. Now this trip is very much an exploratory sort of developing the route kind of trip. We're going into an area that we've both been into a little bit before, but neither of us have explored really in depth. We're setting off across the backcountry with a tentative and theoretical route planned, but the purpose of this trip is to find out if we can actually get through on these roads, assess any technical challenges, and see what points of interest we can discover along the way. As it happens, we've already encountered our first obstacle just as we're exiting the Alvord Playa. This is still essentially old lake bed mud, which can be extremely treacherous, but the soil here is pretty rocky and the base feels reasonably solid. While it's a little slippery in places, the truck is not bogging down in mud, and seeing Jason's van push through ahead of me is reassuring. Personally, I would never attempt such an extensive water crossing by myself, and on the longest stretches, I'm waiting until Jason is successfully through before I enter myself. About some of these desert areas in the southeast corner of Oregon is just how truly remote and empty it is. There's just nothing out here. There's nobody out here. I don't even think they run cattle out here. If I would be curious to go up that road to the left, I'm wondering if there would be a campsite up there with a pretty rapid view of the Alvord and the Steams. All right, pardon the little interruption there, but that's part of what we're doing. We're checking out what we find along the way. This could turn out to be a good campsite, or an interesting viewpoint, or possibly a different, more interesting route, or maybe nothing, but we'll check it out. Sometimes it amazes me that these little roads even exist through here. I mean, like, why is this road even here? The horses, the plow pile. Takes us across this other little playa. It is really wet and muddy. There's tire tracks I don't know about this. This feels remarkably solid. This could potentially be an issue for this route depending on what time of year someone did it. Oh my gosh, that much water? I have to admit, I never would have dared try that. Never would have dared try that out here by myself. If I came out here and saw this playa and saw that water going across there, I'd be like, nope, finding another way around. So ultimately, driving through those wet areas of that playa was not a problem at all. As it turns out, Jason actually has driven across this particular lake bed before, maybe about 1.5 years ago. And there was quite a bit of water out here when he did it, and he had no issue. And it's funny, those wet spots felt much more solid than even the mud puddles that we were driving through on the road just a little bit ago, where it was much squishier and my wheels were spinning much more and the truck was wanting to go sideways. So I felt a little nervous about driving across this, but ultimately it seems like it's just fine. I would still always exercise caution when driving through mud on a lake bed, and you know, it's a good idea to do this kind of trip with at least one other vehicle. The road literally dumps onto this playa, then picks back up on the other side, but it's a little tricky to locate the road again. Well, we got kind of a late start today. We still want to try and get to a logical first campsite for this leg of the trip. Over the course of this entire week, Jason and I will be overlapping a few areas we've each explored a bit before on our own. We do have one short little segment on the highway. We're on BLM land. It's all BLM land over there. There's just no road that went right up in the right spot. So we just have to do about, I think it's about 2 miles on the highway, and then we'll get back off onto dirt. You know how you sometimes get stuck behind some guy who's left his turn signal on.
You think this is it?
I think this is it.
Winterland, tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moments. Colored trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing roofs, your painted red shakes the room.
It's funny, it even smells different than the sagebrush desert. When you're going out through the sagebrush, there's this strong sage sort of smell, and here it almost smells like being in a hay barn. It's a definite grassy scent.
We were both expecting this leg of today's journey to be taking us through typical sagebrush desert, but this prairie just keeps going on and on over rolling hills. The golden grasses, illuminated by the late afternoon sun, strike an enchanting contrast to the perfect blue sky and fluffy clouds above.
Straight toward the warm sun and into his hands. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. Will I get closer?
Driving out across these sort of endless rolling hills of desert, which is now sort of a mix of grass and sagebrush, and this gnarly little trail with lots of mud holes. You would never guess what you're about to come to. Just no indication at all.
My wide-angle GoPro tends to flatten out the roads and the rocks, but this little road down into the canyon is steep, and if the rocks were any bigger, I wouldn't even be able to drive it. As it is, I've lost count of how often I've scraped the bottom of the truck. We have to pick our lines carefully. We're hoping to make camp down this dead-end spur, and I can't help worrying a bit about climbing back out of here in the morning.
Oh, I can make it. I just wanted to look at it to make sure I could come back up it. I think it's fine. So that was a gnarly drive down. We are going to pause here where we found a spot where we can turn around if we want to and see what's a little further up the road, because what we don't want to do is get down in here and find that we're in a spot that we can't get past and can't turn around and definitely can't go backwards up the kind of stuff that we just drove down. So we're just going to stop here, walk on down and see what's down there. It's a dead-end road. We know it's a dead-end road. We had no plans of going beyond the end of this road, but we were kind of hoping to get down there. But now that we've seen how gnarly it is, we're going to err on the side of caution and check it out on foot first.
See, that's a whole new thing in my head now, that, you know, experience that I've had.
Ultimately, we've opted to just camp here where we've got a flat spot and the road out in the morning is a known quantity. We don't quite have a view of the canyon from here, but it's already dark anyway. Well, I was really planning on making a nice dinner tonight because it's early in the trip, and as the days go on I tend to get less and less motivation to cook, but it was a long, grueling day. I'm actually just going to throw something really simple together tonight. So we got into camp late. We're not going to make a fire or anything like that, so we're just going to get some food, go to bed, and then deal with getting back out of here in the morning. Good night. Even though he's got bigger tires and more ground clearance than I do, I think this may actually be harder in that van because it's so big, it's so heavy.
wouldn't recommend this trail unless you're lifted and you got tires and you've got experience and confidence, and I would say someone with you, just in case. I think that was the worst bit, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't think there's anything. That was it. And I don't know about you, but it didn't seem as bad.
It looked more intimidating going down. To me, it seems like going uphill is easier in some ways because you can see exactly what you're hitting. Whereas when you're going downhill, there's like you're blind to a certain extent. You can't see what's below. When there's big rock steps like that, you can't see what's below them, and they can feel a little bit more intimidating. Of course, going down, you're not fighting gravity, so in one way that makes it easier. And going up the hill this morning, especially with a little mud on the tires, it made it, you know, that adds you're fighting gravity. After we drove back up to the top of the canyon rim this morning, we decided to go check out this one other little spur we had noticed where we thought there may be a campsite overlooking the canyon, and indeed it was a pretty nice spot.
We kind of wish we'd just camped up here last night.
Can't touch the bottom, sit into a tumble, waves that shake me out of my skin.
I've been down at the bottom of this canyon, very near here, but coming at it from the east side. Viewed from below or above, my cameras are simply unable to do justice to the scale and grandeur of this breathtaking scenery.
My bearings have me south of home. I've been wrong before.
We are now going to work our way north along the west side of the canyon towards the tiny town of Rome and one of our very few opportunities to refuel. While it's largely dry out here in the eastern Oregon high desert, we're encountering frequent pockets of water which turn the fine, silty dirt into slick, greasy mud. Jason's having a little trouble getting through this particular mud pit.
Just mostly driving through a lot of open desert, mostly sagebrush. The road is just a dirt road, and so any place where any water has managed to stay, there are pretty significant mud holes. I wouldn't want to be out here on a rainy day or in a wet season or any time where there had been quite a bit of rain before. It's astonishing how much water has stayed out here while the rest of it is quite dry. The parts of the road that are not wet are just sort of this crumbly dry mud, which is you know, makes for a rough ride, and there are rocks sticking out of the roadbed, and so you do have to pay attention. Well, hopefully we don't get too much worse than that. This segment coming up along the sort of west side of the canyon is Really just kind of rolling off a lot of miles of driving through open rangeland, open desert. No real significant features. It's definitely lovely in its way. I mean, there's something very pleasant about just the vast openness. That's part of overland travel, right? It can't be all glorious and spectacular every minute of the trip. Well, from fields to Rome Station on 3/4 of a tank, that's impressive.
Yeah, she's been on E for about 26 miles.
Jason will eventually post a final version of this route on his website, which will bring you to this historic bridge across the Owyhee River so the trek can continue up the east side of the canyon.
As you head out of Rome, after you cross the bridge, it kind of looks like you're driving right through somebody's property, but it is the road. So we are heading out a little side road off of the planned route. A little something that we spotted that looks like it heads out towards the canyon. We're gonna go check it out and see if maybe it might be a good place to camp.
I know it's really hard to get a sense of scale of these cliffs and these rocks. You can see Jason there, and this drop-off is just immense. There's a couple of rapids in the river, which is nice because we can actually hear the river from up here. There's a distinct sound of flowing water, which would be nice to fall asleep to. I mean, honestly, my preference would be that it not be raining when I go camping. But if it is gonna rain, there's something really pleasant about having an awning out, still being able to sit and enjoy the outdoors, and just listen to the sound of the rain. That works for me too. If you watched my series going through the southwest of the US, I showed a lot of interesting rocks, rock formations, just landscapes in general with a lot of really vivid colors, reds and oranges and pinks, and it was really stunning, really beautiful, really interesting to see. But I shouldn't take for granted how really astonishingly beautiful this is. Now, I grew up with this sort of gray, black basalt rock, but the contrast that it makes with the grasses and the foliage out there, and just the starkness and ruggedness of the basalt, it's got a beauty all its own.
Well, we definitely got into some mud holes over the past couple of days, but the roads were largely dry aside from the mud holes. Now that it's been raining all afternoon, I don't know quite what we're going to find tomorrow.
I deal with a lot of rain in Western Oregon, and it really doesn't bother me that much. I do look forward to getting into Central Oregon and Eastern Oregon. It's usually dry and sunny and blue sky here. That didn't go quite according to plan, but it's all right.
Smells pretty good. Let's see what we did here. I think I'm going to serve this up into my bowl here and see if Jason will let me sit by his fire over there.
Ridiculous amount of times to finally get at the fire, but it finally would. But on a green bottle, I just honestly wouldn't think you'd have.
But yeah, I'll see tomorrow what happens.
Yeah, because we have numbers of time.
For a week, I guess. Not weekend.
Good morning. Well, the rain finally stopped at some point last night, but the fog has rolled in, and you can't even see the canyon. It is full of fog. It's like the ground just comes to an end here, and then nothing. Well, that canyon is down there somewhere. You can hear the river. So I'm getting camp all packed away, and everything is just wet. It's damp. It's cold out here. But I tell you what, you've heard me complain about traveling in the heat. I'll take this any day over hot weather. It can rain, it can be foggy, it can snow, everything can be wet and cold, but I feel so much better.
It's funny, it's sort of reminiscent of the trip Jason and I took a year ago, working our way from Bend-to-Alvord, where we got up into just really crazy thick clouds. Well, although we were hitting some mud holes yesterday,
It does look like there's potential that this is going to burn off and we might have a nicer day later. So hopefully these roads will dry up a little bit before tomorrow.
yeah, I thought I could just barely see a hint of blue up through the fog, so I'm hoping we'll end up with some clearing.
We haven't been able to see much this morning due to the weather, but a little historic point of interest has suddenly appeared out of the fog. You have to wonder how many decades ago this antique would have been used to drive out here in the middle of nowhere. Definitely no satellite communications in those days. Clearly, they had to just abandon the rig and start walking. The sun is trying to punch through the fog as we find ourselves in an area Jason checked out with the RMT Overland Gladiator back in January. It's not time for us to make camp yet, but we're going to take a quick break at this spot where Jason had camped on this trip.
It's really a cool little campsite.
It's not the epic view that we have.
Right, yeah.
But it was a nice spot because this is where I thought maybe I would get some shelter from the wind.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, a big fire pit.
Yeah.
Like that. So, but yeah, this is one of the spots I camped when I was here last with the Jeep Gladiator. It was really beautiful then because... Well, there's some trees, that's promising.
So this is an unplanned little side trip, just a little road we saw going down to a dead end at a spring, and so we're just checking it out. That's what we're out here to do.
Well, that's nice. And this is cool.
Well, someone had a nice little spot to live here.
So that is a really cool little spot. In fact, it's so cool that we've decided to camp there tonight. even though it's a little early in the day. Ultimately, we feel that's a better point of interest than where we were headed to. It being early in the day, I'm actually still going to explore a little bit of the area. I see on the map a few little roads that look like they might go to some spots that I might find interesting. Jason's going to stay there at the spring and do some exploring and filming that he wants to do. And then I'll come back in a little bit and get camp set up, and this is where we'll stay for the night. So just as a point of reference, I think the spot I'm trying to get to is right up on top of that cliff. And we'll see if the road gets there. So the road up onto that butte should be right here, but there is just nothing. I don't even see a hint of what used to be an old road. I don't see any cut, I don't see anything. Yeah, I poked around all in there. I found another road that was sort of going in the right direction. It looked like there was something that was going to connect up, but I just cannot find an actual road that goes up onto that little bluff or butte or whatever. So, oh well. It's weird that there's road data there for it, but no actual road.
I don't have a very powerful telephoto lens, but I'm very much enjoying watching this coyote. These are shy animals, and anytime I ever get close enough for a good look, they always scurry away instantly. Tucked into the sagebrush across the spring, it's a real treat to just watch this guy go about his business without concern. the rate he was moving, I'm sure he's long gone. But I thought maybe he would keep circling the pond or the spring. Every time I've encountered coyote in the past, they've been very, very spooky. They just try to run away. But I don't want to, startle it either. I have no idea what these birds are. They all sort of stay together. They make a lot of noise. But as soon as one gets spooked, they all fly off together, move to a different tree. And then after a few seconds of sitting in the new tree, they start singing like that again. I guess I'm not enough to spook them. Where do they go? It gets all quiet. The last spot I saw the coyote was right about there, on the other side of the water. Right. Probably long gone. Or he's hiding and watching me. Dun dun dun. Based on the size, structure, and tooth layout, and our location out here, I think this must have been a badger. It's so quiet out here, you can hear the sounds of the bird's wings. Can you see him out there? In addition to the cabin by the spring, there's also a pretty sizable rock-walled corral that blends so well into the landscape that I would have missed it entirely if Jason hadn't pointed it out to me. Just for a sense of scale, this wall is actually taller than me.
I'm not gonna lie, this is absolutely stunning. All that firewood I gathered.
even though we've been driving for days, we've looped around in such a way that Steens Mountain, which was basically our starting point, has come back into view, shimmering gloriously with fresh snow that must have fallen when we were getting rained on. It's the first sunrise of this trip where we've actually been able to see the sun. The desert lighting up at dawn is a phenomenon that is unmatched by mornings in the mountains, as this vast 360-degree vista emerges from the dark, vivid golden tones contrasting subtle pastel shades. The oasis wildlife has begun to stir, and I've spotted more than just the ducks moving about.
There's our coyote friend again. Oh, I've spotted some more wildlife. Lurking in the trees. It's primal man.
So nice to have a beautiful blue sky for once. We've been dealing with a lot of overcast and clouds and fog, and it's nice to see the desert in its in all its full color. We're driving right along the very, very edge of the Jordan Crater's lava flow. The funny thing is, this is actually a road that I wanted to take going in the other direction when I came out here on my trip a year and a half ago. And I just ran out of time. I couldn't make it this far down because I had someone to meet the next morning. But so I'm really happy to finally drive this road and see this lava flow. Is really cool. So this is the Jordan Crater's lava flow. It's just from a couple of thousand years ago. It's the most recent flow of lava in the state of Oregon. What you see here is actually just a small arm of it. It extends for an unbelievable distance out into the southeast from us here. Right along this route, there's a little side trip to what's called Coffee Pot Crater, and it's the spot where the most recent lava has come out, and this is just a massive, spectacular, well, I'll show you right here. This is what it looks like. It's totally worth the little side trip to go and visit Coffee Pot Crater. It's really spectacular, especially if you're interested in geology, geological formations. This was not actually part of our original intended route, but we ended up in this direction because we discovered that little spring yesterday. And by coming this way, I think we've actually discovered a more interesting potential routing for the final route. I love it. The road goes right on this sort of smooth, flat part of the lava flow. Really cool.
This is another old rock corral out here. Poking around, it's easy to stumble upon artifacts of the people who lived and worked on these lands many ages ago. This fragment from a Lee and Perrins bottle appears to date to around 1900. Nearby stands the ruins of another stone cabin.
This would have been warm, it had been cozy, it had been enough for a bed, right? You know, it'd be all you need. Like, I live in less than this space, but like this would be to me, this would be a very nice space, you know, to live in.
So we've been enjoying a beautiful sunny day finally. Now we're about to drop down into the canyon, and turns out the canyon is full of fog.
We have rejoined the Owyhee River Canyon, and this time we're going all the way to the bottom. If only we could see the bottom.
Yeah, I think normally we should have a pretty amazing view down into the canyon right here, but here you just have, you can't see anything at all. Hopefully tomorrow when we come back out of here, we'll actually be able to see the view. Oh, it's too bad there's so much fog, because this must have just been an epic drive coming down in here.
Even with limited visibility, we can see rugged, imposing rock formations spiking out of the hillsides like the jagged teeth of some gigantic prehistoric beast. The pale yellow and orange tones of the rocks and grasses are broken up by the vivid green of conifers and striking autumn colors of deciduous trees, clinging to life along the banks of the creek that finds its way alongside us down the gulch, winding its way through the arid terrain towards the river below. The road crosses this creek so many times that I eventually lose count.
In the springtime when this creek is probably flowing a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Man, this drive down is just spectacular. I was not expecting all of these like trees and color plus the rocks.
Yeah, me either. I've really enjoyed the color coming down through the, you know, the creek there.
Oh, it's just unreal. It's unreal. It is. Oh my gosh.
Even the random rocks along the road are remarkably resplendent. So this is a really cool spot down in here, and the drive was phenomenal even though we couldn't see much of it because of the fog. There's some cool old stuff down in here, but I think we both were expecting this to be truly like an abandoned ranch site, and there are some relatively modern buildings with some modern amenities like satellite dishes, propane tanks, and the buildings are locked up with, you know, no trespassing signs on them. Birch Creek Ranch is a BLM site. This is entirely public land, but it appears these residences must get seasonal use by caretakers. These historic artifacts, remnants of a bygone era, are already fascinating in their own right, but set against the stunning backdrop of these dramatic canyon walls, well, this has to be one of the most striking scenes I've ever laid eyes on anywhere in Oregon. The river here is beautiful, and I think we're gonna push a little further down and see if we can find some place to camp along the river. What an absolutely insanely beautiful area. This is crazy.
Building down here.
As we progress along the river bottom, we continue to encounter elements of the ranching operation that dates to the early 1900s. The drivable road does come to an end, and looks like a great place to stop for the night. We've camped in so many amazing places on this trip. It would be difficult to say which was my favorite, but down along this gorgeous wild river, flanked by the crazy contours of these incredible cliffs, this spot is definitely near the top of my list. It's day 4 of this trip, so I guess it's only fair that at least once I let Jason relax while I get the fire going.
Yeah.
Sometimes it annoys me that
But we like eating beef.
ridiculously.
No, there is, like then they, bring value, as far as like, and Evan Brown says in that way though, that almost makes them more special to me, like, but it's a true statement. It's like, why can't you just sit and look at this and be like, vehicles?
Yep, and I do usually carry coconut oil. I have some in the truck.
Yeah, well, the coconut oil will keep it burning for a long time to get the fire started. So it's a quick fire starter with 2 things that you probably already have on the vehicle.
No, I wouldn't have thought of that, but that's a good thing to have in my back pocket, if I remember. Jason's got his dinner done already, but I'm going to chill by the fire for a bit before I get to work on my own meal. Alright, so tonight I'm actually going to try cooking on the campfire. I haven't done that before, but since I like to emulate everything that Primal Outdoors does, I'm going to try cooking my dinner on the campfire tonight. I'm cutting up some okra to saute. If you're not a big fan of green vegetables, you might give okra a try. It has an interesting and unique flavor and is super easy to prepare. Okay, what do I need to do here? If I want to like start getting one of my pans heated up.
Well, maybe what I do is like, maybe shove some of that stuff I just put on there to the back, and then just try to move some of that coals forward.
Yeah.
Take that like log that's already, it's burning, and bring it out front here. I just want you to do this. Bring this here.
Okay.
There. Just like that. Now put your pan right
in there. Okay. That in there. Can't just like turn the knob and dial it down though, can you? Those are coming along nicely. Better get the steak on there. Gonna be okay?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not going to get enough heat right in the middle there.
Maybe move that one off to the side.
Oh, off to the side?
Yeah. I mean, you could. Yeah. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll have plenty of heat.
Oh yeah. I guess it's hot. Jason has offered to cook a nice breakfast for both of us, so I'm taking the opportunity to explore a bit along the base of the cliffs. Jason has rustled up a delicious breakfast of polenta and gravy with eggs.
Just take a couple of polenta packets here.
Yep, and then there's some eggs.
Pretty good, actually. Pretty good to me.
Yeah, I like my gravy pretty thick, so.
Oh, so this is polenta instead of biscuits.
Yes.
With gravy.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's a good idea.
Biscuits can be sometimes challenging to get right on a cast iron skillet, where polenta is very, friendly to cook.
Yeah. Oh, this is delicious. That sausage is amazing.
It's trying to rain on us a little bit this morning. We are going to get camp packed up and drive back out of here. We're getting a crazy variety of weather this morning. We had some rain at camp, then sunny blue skies, then more clouds, then rain plus sun. We have to climb back out of the canyon the way we came in, but it's nice to get a better look at the scenery without the fog obscuring the view. After leaving Birch Creek Ranch this morning, we climbed back out of the canyon and are now headed across the desert towards our next point of interest. I've actually got some unfinished business out here. I explored this area about a year and a half ago in the Forester, but was unable to get to my destination.
I've long wanted to get back out here and get down into the canyon at this spot.
This road is definitely a really slow, rocky slog. Lots and lots of big rocks in the roadbed. It took me, I think, at least an hour in the Forester to go about 4 miles. And it looks like it's probably going to be similar today. So we have now gotten to the point where I wouldn't go any further with the Forester because the road gets really steep, and I figured I could get down it, but I was a little worried about getting up it. It was the kind of road that I would have needed some momentum on, but the rocks were so big that I was really worried about damaging something on the Forester.
We've stopped here at the rim where the road becomes a steep trail of loose rock dropping down into the canyon, with what looks to be something interesting a ways below us. We've inspected the steepest parts of the road on foot and feel reasonably confident about being able to drive back up out of here.
So we're thinking to camp there next to those cabins for tonight, enjoy this epic view and let the sun get a little lower. But since I've long wanted to get down here, I want to push a little further down this road and see what it looks like.
This is a dead-end spur, so I'm just going to take a quick peek a little further down while Jason starts checking out those cabins.
I know the camera can't possibly be doing justice to how steep this grade is and how insane this drop off is. And also, it's really loose rock. But I scoped out this section and it looked passable up to a spot where I could see that I could turn around. So I'm gonna go at least that far and then I'll scope out the next section. There's this series of
switchbacks going down the cliff here. Oh man, that view. Sheesh. Okay. I can't even make this turn. I'm gonna look and see what it looks like.
Well, it took us a couple of hours to get here from last night's camp. From here, I can look down into the canyon and see some parts of the old ranch.
I can just barely see our campsite down there. I can just see the fire pit and a little path to the river.
Well, I'd say it looks doable. It doesn't look too bad, but ultimately it's just sort of working its way down to the cliff, and I know eventually it comes to a stop. The view's not going to get any better than what we have from up above. It's just going to be a long, slow slog down there, and an even longer, slower slog back up. And gas is actually a little bit of an issue. So I think I'm going to call that good. I'm satisfied that I've seen what this looks like and what this road looks like. And I'm just going to work my way back up. It's steep and loose, but first gear, low range, it's crawling right up. There. Oh, off camber, off camber, off camber.
I've returned to the cabins to find Jason trying to fix something on his van.
So it looks like Jason's van may be the next abandoned vehicle down here, because I'm not sure he's going to be able to get back out.
Well, we've had rain, fog, and sun, and now we have wind.
These cabins are not particularly old, but are nonetheless part of the local history, erected and eventually abandoned by miners who had staked claims on the veins of jasper running through the cliffs below us.
This one is really carved right out of the rock.
Man, what a crazy, inhospitable place to try and live and make a living. I mean, unbelievable view, but just the exposure up here and just the work that they were trying to do here, mining jasper, I mean, that can't have been an easy life.
So I'm sitting inside of Jason's van. I just heated up a can of chili tonight. The wind is relentless out there.
Trying to accommodate my...
Morning brings with it our most colorful sunrise of the entire trip.
So we are getting ready to head up out from those cabins. Dang, that was a piece of cake. How would the forester have done coming up that road?
The thing was, it was steep, and to keep the forester moving up over some of those bigger rocks would have required a little momentum. And then, you know, the car starts bouncing up and down a little bit, and it starts coming down on some of those rocks. And that's the kind of situation that I was afraid of to drive my forester down in there in the first place. We're almost back to some sweet, smooth gravel road.
I'm so glad I was finally able to get down to those cabins and spend some time enjoying the incredible scenery, so different from other stretches we've seen of this canyon. Now it's time to move on and see what else we can find along the way.
Oh, that's a little better.
Yeah, it's almost like driving on pavement, so nice.
So we found ourselves back out into some really beautiful, wide, open grasslands. We're kind of trying to make some miles today. The last couple stops have all been fairly close together as the crow flies, even though we had to, we had to log some miles up and down some gulches. So today we're hoping that we can really get overland, make some progress across the desert here, and get into some new areas to check out. This segment that we're doing today does take us across some patches of private land. Now, I've not always had the best of luck. So far we're finding open gates and the roads are going through. Hopefully it'll keep going that way today. Well, this has turned into a interesting little two-track going right up over this mountain, it looks like. I'm curious to see if this road is going to go through.
It's impossible to tell with the camera mounted on the truck, but this is a much bigger and steeper climb than we expected, and both of us have shifted into low range to get up this hill.
So we didn't luck out on this one after all. Too bad, because what a cool area. And what an amazing, amazing view. Well, this part of the route did not work out as planned, but it was still a fun little drive up here and just a stellar view.
Now, if we could just stay at this angle for the rest of the drive, I have a lot more fuel.
We are now backtracking out from that gate. I think we're gonna pretty much have to drop all the way back down to the sort of main gravel road we were on earlier this morning. It may mean that this whole segment of the route is we're gonna have to come up with a different approach to it. But that's why we're out here, get this stuff figured out. Part of the problem out here is that because of the river and the canyon and some of that just crazy terrain out there, there's no way to get from point A to point B. There's a lot of little roads up in here, but they all dead end.
So, did you drive this road here?
I think it's the only choice at this point.
We've plotted a detour, which may ultimately be for the best, as it's allowed us to make a short side trip into Jordan Valley to fuel up and grab a few supplies. We just have to work our way through some farmlands to get back over and reconnect to our route now that we've bypassed the gated area we hit earlier. We've once again overlapped a segment of my first trip out here. We'll be passing close to Leslie Gulch soon. We're not going to drive down through the gulch today, but if you get out this way, I would highly recommend taking the time to check it out. It's a dead end out and back that goes all the way down to the Owyhee River, but it's a well-maintained gravel road with some of the most striking and magnificent scenery you will find in Oregon. Footage doesn't do justice to this compelling terrain we found ourselves in. Be sure to watch Jason's videos over on the Primal Outdoors channel, as he shot drone footage of this drive, which will certainly give you a better sense of how intriguing this landscape is. It's now late afternoon and we've started poking up some side roads looking for a spot to stop for the night.
We found a pretty decent campsite. It is a bit windy out there. I'm gonna take refuge inside the canopy for a little bit. We found a little spot near our campsite here that's sort of some rock that's sort of carved away, and we're gonna tuck down in there, make a little fire out of the wind, and enjoy the evening. It was that rainy night, that foggy morning. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah. No, I mean.
While we're some distance from the river here, We're effectively following it on a roughly parallel path out through some beautiful country that is new to both of us. We were expecting this leg of the trip to be little more than rolling hills of sagebrush, so we're very pleasantly surprised to find ourselves driving through such interesting scenery.
Man, the drive just got epic. We're coming down this little shelf road. We are now rejoining the Owyhee River. This is where it widens out into a reservoir. And this road, I believe, is going to wind us down right to the water. Bottom of the canyon. We're actually hitting a bit of paved road here. Oh, that feels really good. So that is it. We have reached the end of this segment of our route. We are back at the Owyhee. The reservoir is low. There's the river. There's the canyon. It's time to air up and head home. I am grateful to you all for your ongoing support of Softroading the West, and I look forward to bringing you more adventures soon. As always, thank you for watching.